Hey guys, it's Holly. Welcome back to my channel, which entails my life, the lifestyle I live, and anything else I would like to discuss. So, I apologize for my hair. It's crazy, but I've been working out and I'm like super sweaty still. So, y'all will just have to deal with it. But today, what I want to talk about is dark night of the soul. So, I've heard this term, this phrase used a lot over the past few months. People will say, I'm going through a dark night of the soul. I'm having a dark night of the soul, or something to that degree, something of that nature. And so essentially, I did a little bit of research on this because I've actually been going through this recently myself. And so, Dark Night of the Soul was actually a poem written in the 16th century. And basically, what it means is when you say you're going through a dark night of the soul, it's a very spiritual situation, and it can be a wide range of so many different things. So we can say that it can be a severe depression, it can be a turning point in your life where you are having to make tough decisions or a big change, or you just know that something really huge is happening in your life and you're having a really difficult time. So basically, Dark Night of the Soul is when you are having a very difficult time trying to merge with God or your higher self, or however you want to define your spirituality, your higher power, or whatever. So for me, I feel like it's merging with my higher self and merging with God. So I feel like I'm merging with a lot of different things, quite honestly. And that's just me. It's going to be different for everyone. And so Dark Night of the Soul is very necessary for us to grow as souls and to just really come into being the best that we can be. And if you never go through really difficult times, you're never going to grow into what you are supposed to be. And so I personally firmly believe that we are all here with a magnitude of specific purposes. I don't think people are necessarily here for any one particular purpose. I think that people are here for many different purposes. Like, there's not just one, there's like so many. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at here with the Dark Night of the Soul is it is very difficult. And if you're going through such a thing, you will know it. It's an undeniable feeling. But it's very necessary for you to go through it and to do the best that you can to get through the Dark Night of the Soul and to heal and to rise above it. And so you are going to be your highest self and do the most good in the world that you can possibly do, not just for yourself and your family, but for everybody else that's out there in the world. And so for me, I have been through so many of these Dark Night of the Soul moments. The worst ones I've ever been through have happened just in the last few years. I had one in 2018, so it's 2021 now, and then I had one in 2019, and they were both like the worst times of my whole entire life. And those periods of time lasted for anywhere from 3 to 5 months, and so pretty long period of time there. For me it was anyways, but the time limit is going to be completely different for everyone. So recently, over the last year, I have also been going through another Dark Night of the Soul, shall I call it, but this one it's still been really hard, especially the last few weeks, I'm not gonna lie. Things just get really hard sometimes, and sometimes we don't see our way out, and so we have to really dig deep. And so I have so many recommendations I could make in terms of coping with and dealing with your Dark Night of the Soul. But one of the main things that I do is I will get out a writing pad. People call it journaling. But it's really, if you do it the right way, it's really not time consuming at all. It can be very quick and easy. Every night before I go take my bath, I just get out my notepad, and so I will write down some kind of inspirational thing that I want to say to myself, like, keep going, keep making miracles, you're doing great, or just write something like that down. Just one little thing. You can write multiple things if you want to. And then secondly, I will write down potential possible solutions to aid myself improving and getting past the dark night of the soul. So things that I can do, anything that could potentially help me. Ideas, not necessarily something that is going to fix the problem entirely, but something that can contribute to that. So that has been one of my number one things. And then secondly is just keep showing up and keep staying consistent in everything that you're doing every day. Make sure you're staying on routine, whatever that is. If you exercise or if you take a walk every day, keep doing that. Just try to stick to your routine as much as possible, taking care of your family. I know for me, I don't necessarily have a specific time I do every little thing every day, but I do have a routine as far as what I'm doing every single day. So it's mostly the same stuff every day, but every day is also a little bit different. And so I think adding in some variables every now and then is really, really helpful. And so you might decide one day you want to do something a little bit different. So like the other day, I went to the outlet mall for a brief period of time, and that was something that I had not done in years. And so adding in some variables and just helping to give yourself insight and doing a little bit for yourself, even if it's not much, even if you give yourself 5 minutes to meditate, even if you just give yourself a 10-minute walk outside, whatever it is. And it's really, I'm a single mom of two, so I know how hard it can be to get time to yourself. But essentially, I just do the best I can. And that is the third tip that I want to add here, is do the best that you can. And that doesn't mean don't give yourself grace when you are just feeling overwhelmed and you feel like you can't take it. What this means is just keep showing up and doing the best that you can, along with staying consistent. Just don't give up. Just keep pushing forward, and know at the end of each day, when you end that day, that you did the best you absolutely could. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you got every single thing done that you needed to do that day. Or that you wanted to do. It just simply means, hey, I did the best I could with the energy that I had, with the time that I had, with the, with everything that I had. I did the best that I could. And so that's a huge thing for me. So those are really my top tips. Also, talking to someone that you can trust. I don't have a whole lot of people that are emotionally available for me to talk to when I am going through really, really dark moments. But I do have a best friend. She is amazing. She's always there. You really want to have at least one person that's going to understand you and that's going to, attempt to talk through with you and try to help you come up with solutions to get out of your dark night of the soul. And like I say, this isn't necessarily going to be a deep depression. It can be so many different things. It's not necessarily going to be, like you are just so overwhelmed you can't function. It's so many different things this can be, guys. So I wanted to read a little bit about the dark night of the soul. Okay. So basically, when you Google it, under About, it says Dark Night of the Soul is a poem written by the 16th century Spanish mystic and poet St. John of the Cross. The author himself did not give any title to his poem, on which he wrote 2 book-length commentaries, Ascent of Mount Carmel and The Dark Night. And there's a whole Wikipedia. So there's really a ton of information on Dark Night of the Soul, according to my research. So under metaphor, it says the dark night symbolizes an obscuration, and soul usually refers to an individual's true essence. In other words, the dark night of the soul is the obscuration of the true self. The obscuration may consist of a previous idea of what one believes about themselves or the world that is thrown into question. And so this is, it's a big thing. Like, it's kind of like we think that we're somebody, and we think that we're something, and we think that we're so sure of our identity on all these different levels. And coming into knowing that, hey, I'm not this person anymore, Or maybe I am still the same person, but these aspects about me have changed, whether that be physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, so many different levels in which we can shift. And we do shift throughout life. We absolutely do. On every level. Like, I know me personally, I am mentally and emotionally like miles and miles above where I was just even a year ago or 2 or even 3 years ago. And so with each passing year, it's like I'm merging higher and higher with my higher self and where I need to be in life. And so this is just where I'm at. And I will also point out that a lot of people do find that when they reach their upper 20s to early 30s, even mid 30s and up, depending on different circumstances of life, but you're really merging so much with your higher self and really coming into knowing who you are and what you're here to do. And sometimes a lot of people say that they just do not really hit that point until they get, higher up in age. So, and by higher up, I'm talking like, for me, early 30s. Like, I was 30 when all of this kind of started happening and I started shifting and coming into my higher self. And I do still struggle with setbacks. I do still struggle with, maybe one day I'm feeling very down on myself, or I'm feeling very, very much, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just not quite feeling like my highest self. And we're all going to have days like that. But sometimes I feel like I'm doing really good for a few days. And then all of a sudden I have a setback and I'm like, oh wait, I thought I was doing good, but now I feel like I've taken 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And so that's going to happen. That is inevitable, and that's just part of life. So the important thing is, absolutely just number 1, write stuff down, whether it's encouraging stuff. If you can, write down your thoughts. If you want to actually journal it out, do that too. Write down potential solutions and things that you can do, whether it's joining a support group, talking to a friend, going to the park, relaxing in nature, any little thing that you can do to help yourself come up with solutions to lift yourself out of this dark night of the soul. And then secondly, consistency. Continue to show up every day. Continue to do the absolute best that you can as a human, as a person, and do not give up. That is the number 1 thing, is just keep going. At the end of the day, make sure you've done everything you possibly can. I'm not saying run around like a chicken and go crazy and, stay up all night and never sleep. But what I am saying is, like I said before, with your time and energy, with what you have in you, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, with what you are available that day, what is inside of you and what you have available to you, these are your resources, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So with all that being said, do the best you can with it. If you catch yourself, some people are very prone to just like scrolling through Instagram randomly just for entertainment. If you catch yourself doing things like kind of like, I don't know, like lollygagging around, just kind of like sitting there, not doing really anything, and then you're like, oh yeah, I need to get back on it. Like, allow yourself that moment, be like, oh, recognize that moment and say, okay, I had that moment, and now I realize that that was not productive, and that was a waste of time, or a semi-waste of time, and now I'm going to do what I can that's going to be productive, and it's going to help me merge with my higher self. And so, and there's nothing wrong with entertainment. I think that entertainment is super important for us to have a little bit of that each day to an extent. And so that's definitely, not every little thing has to constantly be focused on self-improvement or something of that nature. There can be, it's actually productive to allow yourself a little bit of entertainment as well. But what I'm saying is, you just don't want to find yourself where you are constantly wasting your time and not using your time to the best of your advantage. So with that being said, I think that's pretty much all I want to say about Dark Night of the Soul for the sake of time. I'm already about 14 and a half minutes in here. But yeah, and it's a very poetic thing. I mean, there's even like psychology studies about it and whatnot, but that's really about all I'm going to go into in this video. But I wanted to talk about that because I keep hearing that term recently, and then I looked it up and kind of did research, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting topic that I would like to address. So anyways, we will go into more of that later, but yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.